On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
And now for something depressingly predictable.
This is weird. There's hair coming out the top of the cupboard.
When you go to our website, you might look and say, bloody heck, they've been to the jungle for Orang Pendek, they've been to Sumatra again and again. Yeah. Will you, won't you find me a cryptid? An animal that's only rumored to have existed. Look at this picture, it is really funky. It may not be a cryptid, it's a dead spider monkey. We gotta find a shelter. The rain will melt her. My wife's a felter. Yeah!
Well, John did say that he has said he's a family.
Well, my name's whatever you want it to be, I suppose. And welcome to a particularly peculiar and, dare I say, helter-skelter version of On the Track. Well, as most people probably know by now, we've had a fairly strange time over Christmas. Karina was rushed into hospital the week before, and the day after Boxing Day, sadly, Mother died. Now, I wasn't happy with putting out the version of On the Track Extra that Charlotte and I had done ready for release the day that Karina was told she had to go into hospital, mainly because it had Mother in it, and it was the bit where it says filmed in front of a live studio audience, and I didn't feel right about having Mother, who wasn't alive anymore, being called a live studio audience. It somehow felt disrespectful. So we went back to the drawing board, and we have put together all the bits and bobs that we've filmed over the last month into a sort of makeshift episode of On the Track, but I hope you'll enjoy it. Okay, Charlotte, I've got a couple of goodies for you today. And first of all, you know in the last episode I did that thing about the bald dog with the buttock pads that was found in Boston.
Yep.
So far, all of these bulldog pictures have all been from the United States. And no, I think that's not quite true. I think one of them was actually from Mexico. But look at this. And this totally is a complete game changer. And look at that. The first one from Europe.
Looks like a dog that's been dead for a very long time.
It's a fox that's been dead for a very long time. Poor thing got stuck in a cricket pavilion for the winter. But look on its buttocks. That's not the buttocks, that's a tortoise beetle. Look on its buttocks. You have the big lumpy thing. Now that was in Denmark last week. What were you doing there?
No, I just had a noise.
Oh, well, it's probably Graham wandering around with fridges again. It's his new hobby. Rubik's Cube with fridges. But that was found in Denmark last week, and it's a fox, it's bluey grey in colour, and it's got the haunches. And in the pads on its haunches, and interestingly, it's a female. And nearly all of the North American ones with the pads on the haunches was a male. Now, Lars, I'm going to read you what he has said, because I think this is a complete game changer and might be the beginning of the end for the blue dog mystery. I said, what are they? And he said, they are just pads of thickened skin at the back of the pelvic girdle, round about where the anal scent glands would be on a live animal. And I said to him, do you think that could be the explanation of the strange pads on the other blue dogs? And he writes, it's tempting to say yes, but I cannot of course be sure, as this is the only mummified fox I have ever examined. It was rather small, so I suspect it was a vixen, possibly even a young animal from this summer, but everything was so dried up and leathery I couldn't be absolutely certain. Apparently the poor thing had died from thirst or starvation from being accidentally locked in a shed full of chairs normally only used in the summer. The owners, just by accident, had to fetch something from the shed, found the thing and threw it outside. I wrote, I wish it had been a dog fox, because the pads are usually only found on the males. Maybe it was, it could have been a young one, but as I said, it was rather small, so it might have been a real youngster. Now, I have got a real challenge that I want to throw open to any of you who's watching. If any of you can get hold of a roadkill or any other kill of one of these blue dogs, as I've named them, please can you see if we can, using Skype, get Lars to do not just a necropsy, but a dissection of these pads on the haunches of the poor creature. Obviously we haven't got the resources to fly Lars out to Texas, although I'm sure he'd like to go, but if any of you do manage to get hold of a body, would you please be prepared to cut it up with Lars, Lars sort of supervising what you do via Skype, because I think we might be at the very end of the blue dog mystery. It's okay, isn't it? But now for something that I think you have all been waiting for. Dang, dang, dang. Dr. Max! Dr. Max! Dr. Max! In Moscow! Now over to Moscow, where my dear sweet friend and adopted nephew, Max Blake, or should we call him Dr. Max Blake, is doing all sorts of extraordinary things for us deep in the heart of the Moskvarium. This is the third part of his live streaming from the Moskvarium, and the fourth part will be, we very much hope, in the next episode of On the Track. Enjoy. Am I dreaming it, or did you tell me that they are breeding the sturgeon?
No, they won't be. There's no way. The thing about the Moskvarium is that it sort of looks amazing, because it kind of is. I mean, you know, look at that. But I really don't think they're actually doing that much behind the scenes. So we're on a tour here as part of the conference, and I've kind of ignored the tour because I'd rather do things my own way. And yeah, I've asked to go behind the scenes. But nothing yet.
So what have we got here that you're walking past?
Sorry?
What have we got here?
So we're back in. So we're now in the freshwater section. This is the bit that we missed when the signal dropped out.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll basically go as far away from this as possible, see where the signal goes, and then come back towards signal, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Because the freshwater bit's great, and it'd be a shame to miss it.
Well, as you know, I'm always much more interested in the freshwater than marine anyway.
Oh, as am I, as you know. So there's some stuff. So there's some more freshwater stuff around the corner that's relatively boring, and there isn't much point in sort of really going to. So we're not. There's a tank. Most of the tanks have got individual themes, even if they've got lots of different stuff in them. So this one's for glass knife fish.
It looks amazing. I can't see the fish. Oh yes.
There they are.
So they are. They are so well camouflaged.
It's brilliant. And they're not really going to come out, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. So there's that. There's another. There's this large, quote-unquote, African-themed one. So you've got a couple of species of Distodus.
Big giraffe catfish.
Yeah. There's a nice Bachir.
That is beautiful.
My favourite one is this one, which has got just a whole load of elephant nose fish, electric fish.
Wow.
I mean, there's other stuff in here as well, but there's two species of elephant nose fish. So you've got this one that we're looking at, which is Peter's, which is fairly standard. I can't remember the name of the others. They're sort of mooching around up here. This one with the ridiculously long nose. And then that gorgeous whatever it is.
That is fun. What I've always wanted to see in an aquarium is to have smallish tanks with different elephant nose fish in, but have diodes going through so you can actually hear the difference in the electrical calls.
They've got something similar, not quite as good as that, in Vancouver.
Oh, well, you know they're probably my favourite freshwater fish.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I totally adore those things.
I love frontosa. They're amazing. The rest of the tank's not very exciting, but the fact that it's got frontosa kind of makes it amazing.
And it just looks nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's all very nicely done.
They've made a real effort.
Sorry?
They've made a real effort to make it aesthetically pleasing.
Well, it's staggeringly expensive. Just everything about it. It's the largest aquarium away from the sea in the world.
I didn't know that. It's just a pity that they don't seem to be doing as much breeding and conservation work as one would like.
No. There's none of that here.
Which is a pity, because if all these things are taken from the wild, it means that all they're doing is stealing them from the gene pool.
That is pretty much what they're doing.
What's that stripy thing just swum out of?
Sorry?
What's that fish with the horizontal stripes?
That is a striped tigerfish, and then the silver one's a giant tigerfish.
Fantastic. The stripy one looked like an absolute enormous zebra danio.
I can see that. They've also got wolf tetra.
Oh, wow. Come see it, Carl. Look over our shoulders if you wish.
Sorry?
I was just... Carl was being polite and keeping away. I told him to come look over my shoulder.
No, bring him in.
Can you go back to the wolf tetra? Because Carl was saying he's never seen one.
Okay.
Isn't it brilliant?
Yeah.
Is that me, or has it got scar tissue on it, the back of its head, so it's probably been fighting?
Possibly scar tissue. I'm just going to run back to the marine section now.
Where is this?
Moscow.
Oh, wow.
There's something really science fiction-y about sitting here watching something being streamed live from an underground bunker in Moscow.
It is quite impressive, isn't it?
Well, to be quite honest, I think this is what the future of cryptozoology is. It's got to be utilising, I mean it, utilising the new technology rather than still pretending it's the 1890s and just tramping through jungles. You should be setting up these video stations and watching what happens.
Yeah? Very cool.
And you know, you could even, if you paid a local person who's reasonably tech savvy enough, you could have them wandering through the jungle with a camera like this, and you could choose where he sets it up. It would mean the end of, at least initially, the end of expeditions as we know them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And there'd be no longer any need to spend $75,000 in 3 years.
Only.
No, that's something which I'll tell you about when you come back to England.
That sounds bizarre, John.
It is very bizarre.
Well, we're getting a lot of letters at the moment. Can you do an introduction for the CFZ postbag?
Yeah, I'll get on to it.
Hey, yeah, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
Well, that was more sensible than I expected.
But wait, there's more.
Mr. Postman, wait and see. Have you got a message for the CFC? Boy, Posty, this is me instead. Use the Queen's English, it's the CFZ.
Oh, bloody hell. I suppose it'll have to do.
Well, for the first time in several months, we've got a look at the CFZ postbag, or rather the on-the-track postbag, which is mostly actually comments that people have posted on the video. So, first of all, we have a guy called Simon Johansson who's been kind enough to say that a new episode of On the Track is the high spot of his month. But then he comments, interesting revelations regarding the Loch Ness Monster. I'm somewhat surprised that Downs isn't considering that there might be something more supernatural at work than just flesh and blood animals. Did I say flesh and blood animals? I meant flesh and blood animals behind some of the sightings. Well, I'm not saying there isn't at all. I mean, I've always thought that the Loch Ness Monster is a sort of chimera. You know what a chimera is?
Yeah.
it's a mixture of all sorts of things, and whereas I think the most likely bona fide mystery animal, that's a living species of animal that people don't expect to exist, are the giant eels we've talked about ad nauseam the last few months. And I think that an awful lot of sightings actually are proof that seals come into the loch far more often than people think they do. But I do think that there's both a folkloric and a Fortean. I hate to use the word paranormal. In fact, I hate to use the word supernatural, because I think they're perfectly normal and perfectly natural. They're just things that are defined by laws of science that we don't understand yet. And so yes, Simon, I think there is very much a supernatural element to the Loch Ness Monster. I still think I'd be much happier if people could come up with a better word than that. But what I think is quite interesting is that there are several other great beasts that have been alleged or historically known to have inhabited the Great Glen in its time. Who was the most famous great beast?
I don't know.
Okay, if I say he has the same initials as air conditioning. Now you've got a mouthful of coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, who am I talking about?
Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley. Roughly, for all the people, maybe the people of your age who don't know who Aleister Crowley is watching this thing, and stop drinking your coffee, you're getting out of the way of the screen. That's better. I don't want it to look like suddenly there's me there and sort of your left ear.
No.
Oh dear, poor dear. Well, your back's hurting.
Yeah. Didn't you want to hear it crack?
So go back. Charlotte, Aleister Crowley. Who? Why? What? When?
I don't know much about Aleister Crowley apart from like he was an occultist. But apart from that, I don't really know much about him.
He was an occultist in the years between the First World War and the Second World War, and he was one of the biggest. He was probably the first modern celebrity, because he was somebody who was famous just for being famous, and he was one of the world's biggest self-publicists. Although I personally believe he was nothing of the sort. He christened himself the wickedest man alive and called himself 666, the great beast. And he lived for many years on the shores of Loch Ness in a house called Boleskine. Do you know what happened to Boleskine House recently?
It got burned.
It's got burned down. It was burned very badly some years ago. And earlier this year, it burned down. It's burned pretty well to the ground. And in a forthcoming episode of On the Track Extra, we've got something really rather interesting for you. We've got another occultist who lives in the vicinity, who is somebody who is a follower, a devotee of Aleister Crowley and his work, and who's giving us the inside knowledge, the inside scoop, if you like, on what happened when Boleskine House burned down. So look forward to that. That'll be in On the Track Extra very soon. And now we're going over to another question. This is from our old friend Linda Steele, who Charlotte and I both know because she came along to a couple of weird weekends, and she was the one who most recently managed to sort out for us the mystery of those strange creatures in Thailand that turned out to be performance artists that Charlotte and I were quite baffled by. She sorted that out for us, but she has just sent us this. Let's just... So what do you think it is?
It kind of sounds like someone's like yelling through a megaphone. But at the same time, it doesn't sound 100% human.
Well, the person who posted it claims that it's a Sasquatch grieving, Bigfoot mourning something. Have you ever heard a female fox calling, a vixen calling?
I think so.
It's one of the scariest and most unearthly sounds you ever heard. But you know the weirdest and most frightening animal sound I ever heard? It was a mole. Because this happened, 20 years ago. My then girlfriend and I were in bed, and we were nearly asleep. We were curled up with my old dog Toby, and then suddenly this most horrible sound you've ever heard came screeching. It was in the room with us. We switched the light on, couldn't see what it was, and then Linda pointed out, "Look, what's that?" And there was a mole on the carpet behind the bottom of the bed, and standing on a few feet away was one of my cats, looking very pleased with herself, but really rather scared. And it was the most horrific noise I've ever heard. Just for anybody who wants to know what happened, I quickly got dressed, wrapped the mole in a towel, and let it out onto a patch of waste ground, where by torchlight I saw it digging its way into the ground, and that was the end of that. But it did teach me a lesson that sometimes the most horrible, most peculiar noises come from animals you really would least expect. I've got no idea what that noise was. I think it sounds like an animal rather than a person, and I don't think it's meant as my gut feeling is that the guy's genuine, that he recorded it, it's not a fake. I like the way that you can hear his wife trying to calm the baby. Obviously doesn't like the noise. I think there's something there, but for the life of me I don't know what it is. So, sorry Linda, I can't give you an answer, but what I can do is pass it over to all the people who listen out there in consumer land, who sit and listen and consume the CFZ videos when we do them. What do you think it is? Answers in the comments, please.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the first On the Track for the new year. Yes, I know it was a bit ramshackle, but remember it was put together from stuff that was meant to be for On the Track Extra about 4 weeks ago. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who sent their good wishes in, both about Mother and for Karina when she was in hospital. And I would like to say to you all that it does appear as if Karina's operations were a success, and that she is somewhat better now than she was a month ago. I'd like to say a big thank you to all the people who helped me put this episode together. My lovely stepdaughter Shoshana, who is a vet, just in case you didn't know, and no, a vet does not mean that she crawled through tunnels hunting the Viet Cong. It actually means that she's a person who looks after sick animals. I'd like to say a big thank you to Karina, who, despite the fact that she's been terribly ill, has still been a trooper and soldiered on. And I want to say a big thank you to Graham, who helped me put the whole thing together, and who's been my deputy here at the Centre for Fortean Zoology for 24 years now. It's nearly a quarter of a century. It's a hell of a long time. We've got a lot of things planned for this year, and I'm not going to tell you what they are, because some of them I know, some of them are still in the pipeline, and the rest, well, I'm afraid the CFZ time machine is out of commission at the moment, so you're just going to have to wait. So, until next month, from me and Archie, Happy New Year, and be seeing you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, between the year 2000 and 2017, that's 17 years, I promoted something that we called the Weird Weekend, which was a conference for and by the Centre for Fortean Zoology. The Weird Weekend came to an end for all sorts of reasons. but I miss the Weird Weekend massively, and so I decided to rebrand On The Track and make it more like the Weird Weekend, give it more of the zeitgeist of high strangeness and sheer silliness, as well as the hard science, which was always the hallmark of the Weird Weekend. And so, instead of coming out with an episode of nearly an hour once a month, we do our regular monthly episodes of On The Track, but they're kept down to about half an hour ago now, and in between, we aim to do them every week, but it doesn't always work out like that, we have something called On The Track Extra. And I hope you enjoy it, and just to give you another taste of what the new On The Track's like, here, taken pretty well at random, are 2 links that I think you might enjoy.